Welcome to the MX-5 Super Showdown held on the beautiful Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps. This is a one-off special event held for 2 hours around this 4.35 mile circuit, and you're watching it live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Again, I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth is Richard Losper, and our pit reporter today will be Kevin Browne. And of course, directing all the cameras, we have Giancarlo Lenzi. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Joe, Richard, great to be here.
Absolutely. I'm pretty excited for this. This is obviously a favorite course of mine and many other drivers. I'm really looking forward to see how this plays out because this is not just going to be a race of endurance, but a race of strategy as they've limited the fuel on these cars. Now, Richard, we see a lot of really fast drivers here today. Who are some of the names that we're expecting to really be putting in the hot laps?
Yes, Joe, I am really excited about this race. 60 cars on the famous Spa track. It's just going to be an absolute blast. At the moment, according to the list of qualifiers, bearing in mind that qualifying took place yesterday, we have Jan Koemans at the top of the leaderboard with a 2:52.933. He's followed by Jesper Pedersen, Sergio Moura, Konrad Hutton, who is the organizer of this race. Good on him for doing this. It's a great idea. Is in 4th place. João Freitas in 5th. Simone Rossini, whom we know from the GT Cup, he's in 6th place. Heinrich Lourens, a new name for me. I haven't seen this guy race yet. He's in 7th. Our own Stefan Overgaard from the CESCS is in 8th place. Simon Palmer, a known fast driver from England, is in 9th. And in 10th place, Wojciech Swiridowicz, who we all know as well as a real fast guy. Joe?
I'm really glad you announced the 10th place driver because I was having a hell of a time pronouncing his name. A little bit farther down, we've got Henry Virok in 11th, Uros Zelenko in 12th, then Jim A. Boland in 13th, Yeryanis is in 14th, Dexter Castro is in 15th, Jaime Ferrugia is in 16th, Dragon Mihai is in 17th, Ayrton Ellis qualified in 18th, but I don't believe he is here today. And then 19th is Neil McLaughlin, and 20th is Alexander Voss.
And in 21st place, we have Arthur Chan. I'm not sure whether he's here. It's going to be difficult to go through and check if each of the drivers are here, so I'm just going to call their names out as per the list here. In 22nd, we have Jake Tucker, J.D. Baumgardner, Dwayne Stoddard, Adam Atkinson, Sif Alaya, Max Squazzino is in 27th, Miguel Angel Rui Perez in 28th, Tori Tesla and Eric Garcia in 30th place, Joe.
And they're currently gridding up. We have to apologize that we don't have the results on the screen for the qualifying. Guys are getting into their cars and lining up on the grid, getting ready. This is the Endurant Pits, the setup for this track, so they are going to be starting on the downhill towards Eau Rouge at that start-finish line. I see I can hear them spooling those cars up right now, getting ready for the green flag. We're going to have to watch and see how clean they can keep it. Green flag is off. They take off down the hill towards that huge uphill through Eau Rouge. I'm seeing nobody making any crazy moves right now as they get the cars up to speed. They're going to struggle up this hill. These aren't that powerful of cars. I saw someone in 3rd place off a little bit there, it looked like. I believe that was Konrad Hutton. They're heading down the long straightaway towards Lacombe, Richard.
Yes, and it's Jan Koeman.
I'm sorry, we seem to have possibly lost Richard. I'm looking up at front. We've already got a pass to the lead. Who is that? It is Jesper Petersen, who's got along the inside of Jan Koemans there. Meanwhile, Sergio Moura is also challenging, so Jan Koemans isn't quite running away from this thing like we usually see him do in the Blondie series. In fact, Sergio is just getting by Jan right now as they head towards Rivage.
Yes, and we have a new leader. In 1st place right now, we have Jesper Pedersen, I believe it is. We have a guy gone wide there. I believe that would be Jesper Pedersen.
Apologize for our technical difficulties. In the meantime, I'm looking down to see what other battles we're getting. Whoa! And
Can't they hear me?
We could hear you, but you're leaving momentarily at times there, Richard. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Simone Rossini was going side by side with Jao Freitas and had a bit of a scare. He was wobbling as he went through Pouin there. That's a very fast downhill left-hander. They're just closing up on the end of the first lap here as they get towards the back half of the course. They're going to be coming through the very, very fast Blanchimont soon. I'm looking down through the field. Since it's a long race, everybody's seeming to be slotting in single file as of right now. And this is definitely going to be a draft battle race, Richard, with the long straightaways of this place.
Yes, not surprisingly, we have Jesper Pedersen now leading this race with Sergio Mura in second and Jan Koemans, who was top of the leaderboard. He is in third place, Joe.
Yeah, he's already been demoted 2 positions, so not the kind of start he wanted. Meanwhile, for 5th, we still got a battle going on between Freitas and Simon Rossini. Rossini doesn't quite take the position, so, or I'm sorry, he loses the position back because Jao Freitas reclaims it. Cars are going a little bit wide off there. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that since they don't have to worry about any official safety rating here. Although I'll be curious to see if there's been any talk beforehand about that being kind of naughty. I haven't heard anything about that, have you?
Not really. As they come down to complete the very first lap, we have Jesper Pedersen out in front by quite a number of yards. He's followed by Sergio Mura, and in third place Jan Koemans. Fourth place, I believe.
I believe Jao Freitas is in 4th, as Richard was about to say. Then 5th we have Simone Rossini, and then 6th is Konrad Hutton. Then 7th is Wicks. So where to Wicks? This is where I need Richard to say that name.
Wachich.
Wachich. All right. I apologize for any mispronunciations. These are a lot of unfamiliar names for Richard and I. Richard, do we have you back now?
I am here, if you can hear me.
Yep, I've got you.
All right, we'll apologize to the viewing public, and I hear a crash of some sort. Did we see what happened there?
It might have been Henry Vierock. I see him moving slow. No, don't see him having hit anybody. He just moved out of the way. That's odd. He
yes,
must have...
I am watching the front at the moment. It seems right at this point in time, Jesper Pedersen is certainly getting away from them, Joe.
Yeah, he has got a significant lead at this point over Jan Koemans and Sergio Mura, who have kind of been battling just a little bit. No crazy moves right now. As we said, this is a long race to go. We're only 5 minutes in. We're on lap 2, and it's a long lap to boot. So these guys have got to be patient. In the meantime, Sergio has Jao Freitas all over his bumper. He was getting very close into the curve of Paul Frere there.
Yes, Sergio Mura is running in an all-white. Wachich is up to 7th place. Stefan Overgaard, who I have not mentioned before, he is currently sitting in 8th place. So he's in that top 10, which is very important at the start of the race, just to sit back and watch to see what happens in front of you, Joe.
Yeah, and we've heard a little bit of talk pre-race between the drivers saying that with how important the draft is, a lot of it is just going to be a matter of keeping in contact with the person in front. If you let them get away, then you're not going to be able to compete with that top 10, really, because it can give you a pace that you don't necessarily have just by yourself. I'm sorry, I'm trying to take a look through the field here. In the meantime, Konrad Hutton, the organizer, is currently sitting sixth, who's trying to challenge Simone Rossini. So he's not doing too bad for an organizer. Usually we don't see these organizers so far out front, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly. Konrad is doing pretty well so far. I do want to mention we have lost one top 10 qualifier in Henry Verrock, or excuse me, he was in 10th place. And one driver that I think we probably should mention is Carl Williamson. He did not set a qualifying time. He started in 43rd, and he is currently sitting in 21st position right now. He's just kind of picking up the spots one after another and staying real clean as he's doing it, which is impressive because there's a lot of traffic in the latter half of this field.
Yeah, that's extremely impressive. In fact, he's just going by Neil McLaughlin through Lacombe right now. I'm jumping back to him, to Neil and Carl right now. So Carl has moved up to the 20th position as he heads towards Ravage. We're only 3 laps in. So he made it 20 positions in 3 laps. That is just amazing.
Yes,
it's great to see Carl Williamson in this race. I had hoped that he would partake, and it looks like he is in there. However, right at the top of the leaderboard at the moment, it looks like we still have Jesper Pedersen doing it quite comfortably at the moment. Jan Koemans has made up some time on him, and the two of them have quite a bit of a gap to the 3rd place getter, which is Sergio Moura. Jalfred is still in there, Simone Rossini and Konrad Hutton. And Wojciech, Stefan Overgaard in 8th place. Simon Palmer has moved into 9th place, and Jay Yanis, whom we are very familiar with, is in 10th place, Joe.
Yeah, and I'm hopping back to the midfield once more because I'm seeing Carl continue to weave his way through. In fact, he's gaining time on Dexter Castro, who we're very familiar with from both the CESCS and Blondies. And I'm very curious to see this battle develop because Carl tends to be just a little faster. But with those two being very familiar, I'm pretty sure we're going to see a very interesting battle coming up here.
Yes, and going further down the field, I'm just having a look at some of the names that we know really well. I see in 19th place Dexter Castro, going quite well. Very, very early days in this race, or early minutes in this race, I should say. Carl Williamson is in 21st place, which is not bad, Joe, for somebody who started close to the back. Bearing in mind that there's not the full 60 cars in this race at the moment. I see that 47 people are currently circulating with Eric Garcia as the last place on my screen here, Joe.
In fact, Eric Garcia is currently 2 laps down, which suggests that maybe he was the car that had trouble on that first lap when we heard some sort of commotion. We'll have to see if we can figure out what happened there a little bit later down the road. In the meantime, since you mentioned Jesper had Jan catching up to him, and actually, oh, I'm sorry, there was a pass for the lead that we had missed. Yes, Jesper Pedersen is currently behind Jan Koemans, so Jan Koemans has retaken first place.
Yes, not unexpected. Jan Koemans was not ever going to sit in 2nd place for long. He loves to lead from the front, and so the current standings in the top 5 is Jan Koemans and Jesper Pedersen. It seems to me Jalfredis is still in 3rd place. Sergio Moura, who I really expected to be challenging for the lead, is in 4th place. And Konrad Hutton doing really, really well in 5th place, Joe.
Yeah, with Yao Freitas actually being not far behind Koemans. In fact, Yao is currently trying to challenge for 2nd place with Jesper Pedersen. We've seen these guys fight a whole lot. They're pretty close on pace, although Jan typically has a little bit of the legs on Yao. I'm pretty sure that Yao's going to bring the fight here. And right now these 3 are just 1, 2, 3 in a line, not quite about a second between them.
Yeah, we've got 2, 4, 6 cars with very little distance between between any of them, I should say. And then just a little further back, we've got the 7th place, which is Simone Rossini. Wojciech has moved up into around about 6th place, I believe, at this point in time, just behind Konrad. So look out for him a little later on in the game, Joe.
Yeah, he's an unfamiliar name for me, so I'm curious to see what he's able to prove, and obviously already be in the top 10. He's impressed me with his speed. So these guys, not a whole lot of dicing going on up here other than the repass for the lead. In fact, going into the chicane, they are literally all in a line, just filing through one by one. I think everyone's trying to play a patient game in the early days of this long race.
I'm just watching Carl Williamson at the moment. He's come up on Dexter Castro, and he's side by side with him as they go into the bus stop. Dexter is slightly in front of him with Carl just biding his time by the looks of it. Dexter goes wide. Carl Williamson will take the place. No, Dexter comes back on track from that wide position. Do we know what sort of penalties they are applying, if any, to this race, Joe?
I actually have not heard anything on that. I apologize, I haven't been given that information. Hopefully we can get someone to get us that. Dexter goes wide once again as they go through La Source. He has taken every bit of track and then some. Interesting that he's going so defensive so early in this race. I would think that knowing that Carl's a little bit faster than him, he kind of just would be smarter to let him get by and then hop into his draft.
Yeah, it would, because I think the inevitable will happen sooner or later, and Carl Williams will move into the 18th place. Mind you, they're still a little way back, so Carl's got his work cut out for him if he wants to get to the front. But being a 2-hour race and with pit stops as well, bear in mind, folks, there are 2, possibly 3 pit stops in this race for them to get through the 2 hours. So it's going to be a very, very long race, as we see Carl Williamson now challenging Dexter for that place, and he will take it as he goes to the inside, and Dexter wisely lets him go by, Joe.
Yeah, I think he saw the writing on the wall and finally let Carl have the inside into Ravage there. Yeah, with it, I'm getting word that we actually have no admins for this race, so I don't believe there will be penalties unless they hand them out after post-race, which I wouldn't want to be the guy having to go through 2 hours of racing and find out where everyone went, illegally off track. Well, Carl is continuing to carve through. I'm going to make a prediction here and say that if he doesn't make any mistakes, if he doesn't spin or get into trouble, his pace is going to merit a top 10.
I would not disagree with you at all on that one, Joe. We know Carl Williamson very, very well from our time in the Continental Series, and I know him from the GT Cup from way back. He will take his time, probably because he started so late or so way back in the pack. But I have no doubt that you are quite correct when you say that he will get up to the front at some stage. Mind you, I'm not too sure what his pit stop strategy is. He has shown that he could fall foul with a poor strategy, which he has shown in the Continental Series at times.
Oh, and I'm sorry to interrupt. We've got an accident. Dexter Castro just got rear-ended. I believe that was Max Guazzino. Max was getting a little bit of trouble with Carl coming up on him, and he just braked too late, it looked like, and plowed into the back of Dexter. We're going to check a replay of that right now.
Yes, I noticed that he has got going again. He's obviously lost a few positions there as they come into La Source. But that is the story of the year for Dexter, always involved in some sort of problem, Joe.
Yeah, but I think this time he was completely faultless on this one. It looks like Max just barely touched his wheel into the dirt and lost control of his braking a little bit. I saw him trying to struggle to get it slowed down and out of the way of Dexter, and just clipped the left rear of his bumper, unfortunately. So that's going to slot Max quite a ways down, and Dexter not quite as far down, so he's going to have some time to make up. I'll be curious to see how much that damage hurts him, actually.
Yeah, that's...
Back up front, we do have Jasper Peterson did take the lead back from Jan Koemans, and by running a lap that was almost a second faster than Jan last time around. with a 2:53.3. That was also the fastest lap of the race so far. So Jasper is really moving it right now.
Yeah, he's really looking at him right now. He's definitely pressuring Jan, and behind him, Yao Freitas is not letting either of them rest. So it's really, really a close battle up front. But I'm glad to see these guys not doing anything crazy quite yet. Really, the moves that you're going to want to make are probably going to be in the pit stops, although I've heard a few people say that it's going to be difficult if you're a top runner because fuel is going to be extremely tight. Three stops is about all you can do if you're pushing the limits of what this car can achieve around this course. In the meantime, Jesper is got a good draft on Jan. He's kind of looking around as they head through Blanchimont. Is he going to take a look into the chicane? He stays to the inside. I bet he's going to try and outbrake him. Yao is following him to the inside. Is he going to make a move? No, Yao starts to move left. He stays to the inside of Jan. He's going to try and demote Jan another position. They go side by side through the chicane. He's on the outside of this second part, so Yao does not quite take the position. Jan Koemans has successfully defended his second place, but not his first place.
And Yao is the big loser out of that move there, because Konrad Hutton is now side by side with Yao as they move into the source once again. Konrad lets him go through first, so and slots in behind him. So the leaderboard is Jesper Pedersen has taken over the lead from Jan Koemans. It looks to me now that Sergio Moura is in third place. Konrad Hutton in fourth place.
And now Jan is actually coming back at Jesper Pedersen. He's on the outside as they head down the long Kemmel Straight. He's going to start to move in front of him. In fact, Jesper is trying to slot back into position. In the meantime, behind him, Sergio is catching up as well. Sergio is going to try and demote Jesper another spot, but he backs out of it the last second. So Jan Koemans retakes his lead. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of this if these guys keep this up. I take back what I was saying earlier. They're not sitting back and letting things kind of happen. They're definitely duking it back and forth.
Yeah, you know, Joe, this is not a sprint race. I mean, this is a 2-hour race with these little cars. And these guys are going as if there's only 1 minute left in the race.
Yeah, and with,
as Sergio goes really, really wide there. And if you look at the top six, I'm looking at them from way up in the blimp here, and it seems like there are only 6 cars in this race at the moment, Joe.
They've certainly put some distance there. In fact, wow, Simone Rossini is a fair ways back. So Wacek, Konrad, Yao, Sergio, Jan, and Jesper really are all on their own. I think it's just like we were saying earlier. They kind of know that it's really important to keep contact with one another. That no matter whether you're battling or what, as long as you stay with that person, that's the important thing here. So these 6 are definitely the pace setters, and at just shy of 3 minutes a lap, I guess we're going to see, what would that be, about 45 laps for the entirety of the race? Is that correct?
It would have to be something like that. I've just gone back and had a look at the next pack, so to speak, which you've got Simone Rossini out there all by himself in 7th place. And then following them, there's a little pack which is led by Stefan Overgaard with Jim A. Boland challenging him a little bit as well. Jay Yanis and Simon Palmer. So this is the next pack, I guess, to take our interest, Joe.
Yeah, Stefan was looking a little defensive, but now he takes the regular line because Jim is a little far back. I don't think he can do anything. He doesn't as they head through the chicane there. But there's definitely a truly train going on. Yer Yanis, I can see him in his special Blondies livery for this race. He is trying to represent that bar, get a special prize from his normal series in the MX-5 World Tour. Meanwhile, behind him we've got Simon Palmer, and again this is for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, I believe. And Eric Garcia is behind him, although he is 2 laps down, it looks like. In fact, he's 3 laps down, so he's ran into some trouble or something along the way.
Yeah, so you've got 6 cars in the lead pack, then you've got Simon Rossini all by himself, and then you've got this pack here of 2, 4, 5 cars. Then once again, there's a lot of distance between them. And then you follow as we see a battle going on between Simon Palmer and Jim A. Boland, Joe. Jim's got it at the moment.
Yep, he's clear past Stefan from what I'm seeing. So into Lacombe they go. Stefan closes a little bit under braking, but can't make a move. In fact, now he loses out with Yanis closing up behind him. So Yair's probably going to want to try and make an attempt as he also loses time. I'm wondering, I know these cars don't have a whole hell of a lot of downforce, but it seems like everyone's closing in under braking, and then through the corner they kind of drop back.
Yeah, and of course we mustn't forget that as they go up the Kemmel Straight, the draft is absolutely huge with these cars. You can be a second and a half behind, and you can be right on the bumper of the next car by the time you get to the end of Kemmel. So this little group here is an interesting group to watch. I wonder, Kevin, have you seen anything else happening further back?
Well, there's a overtaking attempt right now for third place, João Freitas and Sergio Mora, and I think João Freitas did get the position. Sergio had João was leading last time around in third place, and Sergio had passed him, I believe, on the Kemmel Straight. So this pack is, they're mixing it up amongst each other every lap.
Yeah, actually, I'm watching João currently, and he's just overtaking Sergio as I speak. In fact, just as they head through Blanchimont, he's slotting in front of him, and he's got his eyes set on the two leaders once again. So João's probably going to want to lead a lap. I don't think he's done it yet today, as we're 8 laps in. Jesper Peterson leads right now as they get very, very bunched up. The accordion effect has a drastic effect into the chicane there. They're coming down the Grand Prix pit straight, and they're going to head into La Source, where they're going to get accordioned again. And Jan Koemans takes a little bit of a peek, but he's not really close enough to do anything. He slots back in line through that hairpin, that very, very tight hairpin. The slow corner down to the downhill exit, onto the front straightaway, and across the start-finish line. He's lost a little bit of time from Jesper, and somewhere during that lap, Jesper had actually passed him, because I noticed that they were scored wrong on our little timer there. So Jan is continuing to try and fight, and now, actually, I'm noticing that they're putting a little bit of a distance between Sergio and João, so could we see a 3-car breakaway here?
Well, the draft definitely is big enough with these cars, and they're running close enough times that it's going to be a struggle, I think, for any of these guys to break away unless somebody in the middle of the pack makes a mistake and slows down the rest of the group. So these guys, I think are kind of biding their time a little bit. Maybe they're trying to make sure they're in the draft so they don't use as much fuel. Maybe they can stay out an extra lap and help themselves out. We've still got a lot of strategy left to go so far.
Yeah, we've seen in past draft battle tracks, such as at Road Atlanta, or I'm trying to think, we saw Arthur Chan use it to good effect. Actually, I believe it was, Road Atlanta, that if you're in the draft and you don't fight the person, you just lift, you can definitely save some fuel. And I really would like to see some of these guys try and play things smart, because since fuel is so tight for the leaders that are hot lapping, a smart driver, would just be kind of sitting back and say, you pull me along and I'm going to jump you later, because I'm going to need less fuel in those pit stops.
Right, and with potentially 3 pit stops in this race, every little bit extra time that you don't have to spend in pit lane is really going to help out here, and that may be the difference between the car behind you being in your draft and maybe you being breaking away and keeping him out of your draft.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see how the pit stops play out, if some people are able to use that to kind of finally get some space, because that's really, when people get spaced out, then it's going to be down to whoever's got the pace rather than whoever can hold on. Meanwhile, Jan Koemans was back in the lead at the Kemmel Straight, but he's under threat once again from Jesper Peterson into the chicane. And the 3 of them, and we're seeing Jan Koemans peel off into the pits.
All right, so the strategy battle has begun. Jan is the first one to blink. Nobody else went with him, so this is definitely going to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, and we're
Guys,
only...
can you hear me?
We've got you now, Richard.
Okay, I apologize to the viewers for having some technical problems. It seems my internet is not the best tonight. But Joe, I am watching at this point in time Carl Williams. He has moved up into what appears to be 13th place, possibly 12th place now. And he's the big mover in this field, Joe.
Yeah, and one thing that I was musing on during that is as I watched Jan go through the pits, this is the endurance pits, so it's both of them combined, and it is a long slog through what is, I believe, about 35 miles an hour. So it's going to be a huge penalty if you go through there. You don't want to go through the pits any more than you have to, which is, I think, also going to come into play, because if anybody can two-stop, that could really help them down the line. In the meantime, João Freitas has passed Jesper Pedersen for the lead through Lacombe, so now João Freitas is going to lead a lap unless he gets sniped once again by the draft, which I wouldn't be too surprised with how close these guys are.
Well, that's right. And so the top 5 cars now, we've lost Jan Koemans, of course, who's gone into the pits. It's João Freitas with Jesper Pedersen behind him, and I don't know that Jesper's going to be very happy about that, because he's challenging already as they go around that long bend. Sergio Moura is in 3rd place at this point in time. Konrad Hutton is holding station in 4th place, and Wojciech is keeping a watching brief in 5th place. Joe?
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at Jesper, and he is just all over the bumper of João. So he's looking like he wants to challenge. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried something coming down the long straight into Blanchimont and the chicane. So he's backed off just a little bit, but that draft is going to pull him back in as we watch them head towards these fast left-handers. In fact, I can visibly see him closing in, coming up towards Blanchimont. Now, the hard thing is about this, you've got to time it just right, because if you get too close, Blanchimont is not quite a side-by-side corner. In fact, João is going defensive right now, heading into the chicane. He's got the inside on this corner, but if Jesper can outbrake him, he's going to have the inside. But no, he slides just a little bit wide, so João is going to hold on to this first place position for at least one more corner. Jesper's going to get another chance as they head into La Source, Richard.
And they're coming up on a couple of cars that are a lap down, so this is going to make it a little bit more interesting, although with this track being so long, it shouldn't be a problem as they go down the main straight now for them to overtake these cars. But this early in the race, and bear in mind we're only on lap 9, we're already seeing some lap traffic, Joe.
Yeah, and it's about a half hour in, so we're a quarter of the way through the race, and I'm seeing, as they come up upon the lap traffic, I'm seeing some other people exit the pits, such as Dexter Castro.
Dexter.
So,
Dexter's
Max,
just coming out of the pits there.
Yeah, and Max Cusino is getting out of the way of the leaders wisely. I believe he was the damaged car that got into it with Dexter. So we're going to have to stay with these guys for a little bit. We are having a few technical problems. We apologize. We're going to be up with the leaders here. João is continuing to hold off Jesper Pedersen, so he's doing a pretty good job. And it's interesting that he's able to hold off Jesper this well, because we've seen guys be pretty defenseless with that draft prior in this race.
Yes, and you know, I think the guy in a very good place at this moment is Sergio Moura. He's watching this battle happening up front, and when you're battling that hard, there is a chance that you know, one or other could make a mistake, and the last thing we want to see is them coming together, although João Freitas seems to be in command at the moment. But Sergio Moura, sitting in 3rd place, I think is in a very good position here, Joe.
I completely agree with you. He's playing a very smart race. We've seen him battle a little bit, but not a whole lot. And I think you're right. The more you start to defend, the more you start to attack, on anybody, the more you start to open yourself up to risk. And even though, you know, risk is inevitable in racing, it's weighted risks. You have to figure out what's worth trying to put your car in danger time after time.
That's right, and if you look just a little further back, you see Wojciech coming up on Konrad Hutton. So he's going to be challenging Konrad for the first, second, third, fourth place very soon. And just behind them there, that's Dexter Castro, but I believe he's a lapped car at this stage, Joe.
Yeah, Konrad in that red and pink machine is currently defending from Wojciech's white machine. So he's gonna have to, it looks like he's gonna have to go defensive if he wants to hold the position into the chicane here. But no, Wojciech breaks a little bit early, so he's gonna hold station. I feel like these guys behind the 3 leaders were holding, oh, and
Sergio Moura and Konrad and Wojciech all come into the pits there, Joe.
Wojciech actually ran into the pit wall as he entered. He came in a little too hot, unfortunately. So he's going to have some damage to repair since that was on the right front. I don't think he's going to want to be circulating around with some aero damage on that car because it's going to make him extremely vulnerable.
That is rather unfortunate. So we have guys doing their first pit stops now. That's going to turn things a little crazy at this point. My goodness, this is a really, really long pit. You were not wrong about that, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we did see with Jan Koeman's pitting, and he took 4 new tires, and he wound up losing about 70 seconds to the lead. It dropped him down to about 25th place when he came out of pit lane. And we're starting to see a little bit of strategy shakeups. When Carl Williamson stopped, he did not take fresh tires, and that allowed him to jump over Arthur Chan, who did take fresh tires as well. So we're starting to see these guys make some changes to their strategy, and it's starting to affect these guys. And we're seeing cars moving up and down the order in big chunks and changes here.
I'm hopping back to Jan Koeman's because with those other leaders pitting, we're going to get a real clear indication of whether or not Jan was able to use his early pit stop to jump them, or if it'll come back and bite him. Unfortunately, I actually don't know who is, how exactly that's going to play out here because I haven't had time to study up on if early pit stops or late pit stops are going to pay off here. But he's coming down the front straightaway right now. In fact, I'm watching as he goes by. He's going to get way, way clear past Konrad Hutton. And Jan Koeman's is just getting by Sergio Moura. If Sergio can just slip into the draft, I don't think he has quite enough speed to do it. In fact, he's dropping back. Yeah, he's not nearly close enough to hold on to Jan. So Jan has effectively pulled a good trick on everybody else in his yellow and red machine there.
Yes, and I was just watching Sergio Moura there. We had
looks like we lost Richard again. Sergio did take fresh tires. This is a possible time for him to have maybe skipped the fresh tires. Maybe would have helped him move a couple spots up.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that and ask some of the drivers because I believe it actually takes longer to refuel than it does to take tires. So it almost would make sense to take tires no matter what. But if it doesn't, yeah, that's a good way to kind of sneak by someone and be clever, even if you only take 2 tires perhaps. So Jan Koeman's could effectively get back out into the lead. I didn't see where Jao Freitas went though. I'm sorry, actually, Jao Freitas and Jesper Peterson are currently heading into the pits right now as I speak, Kevin.
Yeah, and I think actually I want to correct you real quick, Joe. What we are seeing is as soon as they're getting that 4th tire, the car's dropping and they're away. So it looks like the fuel and tires are almost identical at the best here.
Interesting development on that one. So it might be a bit of a question mark on whether or not you want to or not. In the meantime, let's keep an eye on these two and kind of keep half an eye on the track because it'll be a big mystery as to whether or not Jan can jump them at least until about 70 seconds from now or so, or a little less than 70 seconds. Jan, I'm looking back, was currently last scored 16th, although that is out of order. He's heading towards the chicane right now.
guys, if you can hear me, I'm going to back out for 5 minutes while I reset things here. Apologize on my behalf if you can't hear me. I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
We got you, Richard, and we look forward to seeing you back again. We hope you can join us. Well, in the meantime, Jan Koemans is heading down towards La Source, and there's a lot of cars heading through the pits, so pit stop strategy is really in full swing at the moment. In the meantime, I'm going to hop back up to João Freitas. He's got one side of his car up, so he is, in fact, taking tires. Where is Jan Koemans? I'm watching straight away. João Freitas is taking off right now. Is Jan going to come by? I hear a car getting close to him. And there is Jan Koemans. He is going to effectively jump João Freitas. Really well called strategy. In fact, I have to imagine the fact that he pitted a little early might be what helped Jan, because he would have taken less fuel. But with the way that they're talking about this being so tight, I'm wondering if that's going to come back and bite him later in the race, Kevin.
Yeah, it's a little tough to tell right now, and truth be told, I have no idea. What I do know is that Jesper Peterson and João Freitas both took 4 tires, and João Freitas beat Jesper Peterson out of pit lane by about 2 or 3 seconds. So not entirely sure why Jesper was so slow out there, but he is definitely a loser in this battle right now.
Well, it just goes to show it doesn't matter how fast you can hot lap, you have to have the entire package. You got to have the strategy right, you have to have your pit entry and exit right, and you have to know how to navigate all this traffic, because as we're seeing, they're definitely getting into the thick of it as they lap cars or people are off of your strategy and kind of running, you know, a different rate to you. So Jesper Peterson last time by was the effective leader, but I don't believe that is correct. Everything is kind of a little topsy-turvy, so we have to apologize if we give any misinformation. While we wait for Richard, though, I believe, and while we wait for everything to sort itself out in the pit stops, I believe we're going to take a really brief break and get things sorted out on the timing and scoring, and then we'll be back in a moment. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Well, while you were gone, there's some big things that went on. We missed Jan Koeman's disappearing, so he could effectively be out of this race. He seems to have had connection issues, which is unfortunate because he managed to break away from everyone through the pit stops. He was 4 seconds ahead of Sergio Mora, but now Sergio Mora has inherited the lead, and he is being hunted down by Yao Freitas. So those are number 1 and number 2, and that'll become updated as they come across the line here. In fact, I'm pretty sure, Jan Koemans hasn't been back for a while, so I think he is well out of this race. That's really sad to see him lose out like that, because it was looking like he was ready to dominate. Meanwhile, about 4 seconds back from those lead 2 cars is Jesper Pedersen, who seemed to really lose out on the pit stops. He called his strategy a little wrong currently, although, we're only 43 minutes in, so that could still change, couldn't it, Kevin?
Absolutely, but that pit stop was served Jesper well. He ran a 2:52.831 the last time around, which is the fastest lap time we've seen this weekend so far. So Jesper, he must be a little fired up after his poor pit stop, because he is really rolling right now.
Well, as they say, it ain't over till it's over. Richard, we'd like to welcome you back. It seems you've got your technical issues sorted out. We've seen pit stops obviously already play a role. However, it's going to be, I think, very difficult to call until we get to that final set, probably about the last 30 minutes, wouldn't you say?
I believe so, and
Uh-oh, looks like we lost Richard again, unfortunately, and we do have confirmation that Jan Koemans has dropped, so it looks like his internet connection has cost him what looked to be a very fascinating race for him. That is unfortunate at best, although Jan Koeman has re-entered the server, so he may try and continue out the run, even if he's a few laps down.
Yeah, I don't foresee him really being able to do much from as far back as he's going to be, because he's going to lose at least a lap, probably 2 laps. Well, I'm watching Konrad Hutton try and get up to Jesper Pedersen, or maybe he's just kind of holding on to that draft there, because from what we've seen, Jesper is usually ahead of Konrad, so there might be a little bit of pace difference. In the meantime, behind them, Wacek is in the white car, just kind of clinging to this pack, so we got a pack of 3 just in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. In fact, Wacek is really closing up on Konrad right now. He's trying to look on the inside of that red and pink car, but there's nothing doing. In fact, he slots back in line, and under braking, they're just going to go one by one through the chicane.
And there is a good little battle going on in 9th place with Stefan Overgaard, Simon Palmer, Carl Williamson, and Thomas Hallinan. Excuse me for butchering your name. And these guys are mixing it up a little bit, and they got this nice little pack. And we should mention that Carl Williamson, once again, he did not post a qualifying time, and he started in, I believe it was 44th place. He's now sitting in approximately 11th place, so he's having a great run so far.
Yeah, I mean, I may have called it too conservatively. He's looking to break into the top 10 already. I haven't seen whether... well, actually, I take that back. He probably has stopped by now because of the fuel limit of these cars. He's going to take a look on the inside of Simon Palmer, most likely here. Is he? No, he's going to stay in line. Interesting. Source is usually a good passing spot, but I guess he's not wanting to leave himself vulnerable to the draft as they head down towards the start-finish line. The Kimmel Straight is gonna leave him kind of a sitting duck, so that might be some smart driving. I guess Carl Williamson knows a little bit more than I do about driving this MX-5.
Well, we definitely know that he is flying right now, and so I think he does want to make sure he had the best advantage of the draft on the Kimmel Straight as possible, as he looks like he's getting ready to take advantage of that right now.
Yeah, he's sizing up Simon, or I'm sorry, that's Thomas Hallinan that he's sizing up, but Thomas is looking on the inside of Stefan Overgaard, and I think they're coming up to lap traffic here. In fact, the car gets out of the way, but they're going to go 3 wide through the Coombe, and Carl has to back out of it. Probably a smart move there, but he'll have another chance. That was just a little bit of a hairy moment. Everyone played it very, very smart. And Stefan Overgaard came out the best out of that whole situation, being able to hold on to his position, although he slithers a little bit wide into Rivage, Kevin.
That's an easy place to lose. That is a tough corner downhill, and it looks like Carl Williamson's going to make a move on the inside here, and I think he's got it as they run down to Puhan.
Boy, there was just nothing between those two cars. Tumas really had to get out of it and weave a little bit out of the way as Carl's car went a little bit wider than I think he expected, but everyone came out clean. So now Carl's going to have to go and hunt down Stefan, which these two have definitely raced a fair bit together, and they definitely know each other's tricks. I think it's that Stefan's going to be a slightly harder nut to crack for Carl.
That's true. I would expect, though, my thought is maybe they would try and team up and see if they can't run down the 8th place car of Jim Bolland, who's about 5 seconds down the road from them.
This is true. Those two might not be teammates, but they are certainly on friendly terms as far as we know, unless there's some undercurrent that we're unaware of. Carl closes way up on Stefan even before Blanchimont. Is he going to make a try? He's looking at the inside here. This is very tricky. They can lose a lot of time if they're not careful. This is a fast left-hander, kind of a no-name corner. And in fact, Stefan might get demoted 2 positions as Tumas looks on the inside. Stefan has to go wide, so does Carl, but he holds on to it. Tumas has to back off, and Carl makes up 2 spots in 1 lap.
Yeah, so much for my theory of working together, but I guess Carl Williamson thinks he's the fastest car out there and doesn't want to hang around with these guys. So that was aggressive driving for him, clean driving, and he moved right through that little pack there as he moves up into 9th place. Well done.
Yes, so
Guys, and I'm trying to come back into the broadcast. If you can hear me, I am back.
we've got you. Go ahead.
I've been watching with great interest this battle between Carl Williamson and Thomas Hallinan and Stefan Overgaard. And it looks like Carl's got the better of them at the moment as they go into Eau Rouge. And I think this is not a bad idea for Stefan Overgaard to just try and hang on to the back of Carl, because Carl is a bit faster than Stefan, and he could pull Stefan and Thomas up to the leaders a little bit, Joe.
Yeah, that would be, the smartest way to go about it. But, in the heat of the moment, sometimes it's a little bit harder. As we see Tumas Hallinan close up on Stefan, he's going to want to challenge him. This is going to make it harder for Stefan to try and hold on. In fact, he loses the position through Lecumbe. So if he wants to keep contact, he's got to get right back up there.
Yes, and we also have Simon Palmer tagging onto the back of this little pack. So these 4 cars are big movers at the moment, and we'll see what happens to them as it plays out, Joe.
Yeah, like we said just a bit ago, with the pace that Carl has, this is going to allow Stefan and Tumas, if they can hold on, they're already dropping back, I can see visually. If they can hold on, it'll allow them to reach heights in this leader chart that I don't think they could achieve just by themselves. But they've really got to get back up there with them. They're already kind of losing out from what I can see. In the meantime, I'm going to hop back up front because I see that Sergio Mora and Yao Freitas have kind of been continuing to battle each other up here, and they've got Jesper Pedersen only 2 seconds, a little bit less than 3 seconds behind them. So he's been closing up a little bit. Those guys have been losing time. They might want to calm down and work together to try and break back away from Jesper.
Yes, and it seems that
Well, we apologize once more. Poor Richard has not been having the best days with his connection, so I'm sure he can commiserate with Jan Koemans. In the meantime, Sergio is holding up second position, and Yao is in first. Yao is in the red and white car as they go through La Source. And behind them, I see Jesper Pedersen right up close to them with Wacek in fourth. So Wacek has been moving up slowly, and Konrad Hutton behind them in the red and pink car. So we're starting to get, even though these guys have all pitted at different times, it looks like we're getting that train of the top 5 all back together.
Yeah, they're having some fascinating racing. I've been keeping an eye still on the battle for ninth with Carl Williamson, Stefan Overgaard, and Thomas Hallinan. And Stefan and Thomas did manage to reel in Carl a little bit, so that draft helped them out. They are all running within about a second of each other, so let's see if they're able to work together and reel in Jim A. Ballin, because if they keep fighting amongst each other, then they're just going to stay where they are.
Absolutely. Well, I see Dexter, since you mentioned Jim Bolin and this whole pack, Dexter's actually coming out in front of them right now, so that's the at least second pit stop for him already, and we're not even an hour into this thing. We're only 52 minutes in. So we've also... Oh, and I'm sorry, Carl Williamson is being passed by Tuomas Hallinan, so... Like you said, these guys have really got to calm down. They're going side by side through Lacombe. Carl still wants to position back. He's not sliding back in, but he's not under threat by Stefan yet. He's pulling up right back on the bumper of Tuomas Hallinan. Is he going to try into Rivage? He's looking on the inside. He's going to try and outbrake him. Is he going to be able to do it? No, he's not quite up in there. And Tuomas chops him off very bravely. So a lot of confidence from Tuomas Hallinan there up against a very fast driver.
Well, yeah, he's definitely got to have some confidence by hanging with Carl Williamson, knowing that Carl started at the back and moved this far forward. That's got to be a boost right there for any driver, and give you that chance, that internal confidence to say, yeah, I can do this.
In the meantime, I'd like to introduce another pit reporter of ours who's just joining us, Ayrton Ellis. Welcome, Ayrton.
Hey, Joe. Glad to be here.
We're sorry to see that you weren't able to race today, but we're very glad to have you in the booth. You'll have to help us out since Richard is having a few technical problems, so you'll want to keep us abreast on the pit stops once those start cycling through once again. We are currently on lap 18, and we are 54 minutes into this 2-hour race around Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps. And leading the race is João Freitas as we take you down through the field. Behind him very closely is Sergio Mora. Then Jesper Pedersen is in third. Fourth is Wojciech Swerdowicz. Then we've got Konrad Hutton. And sixth is, let's see, I'm going through some lap traffic here. We've got Simone Rossini in sixth. Then Yair Yanis in seventh. And then in eighth, we've got Jim A. Boland. Ninth is Carl Williamson. And 10th is Tuomas Hallinan.
And one thing I do want to note is Jesper Pedersen is running very well right now. 2 laps ago, he was about 3 seconds behind the leaders, and he is now in their draft 7/10 down the last time by the line. And we're being told that Carl Williamson, our 9th place runner, gained 34 positions on the start.
Yeah, and only 19 laps in, that means that he has gained more than 2 positions per lap. And in fact, when we watched him early on, he gained, I think it was something like 20 positions on the first lap alone. So that was, he's got some crazy pace. I'm sure he's having fun fighting his way through this field. In the meantime, Sergio Mora has retaken the lead. We're going to see a lot of this throughout the day, ladies and gentlemen. So don't be surprised if we see lead changes and a lot of swapping up front as these guys continue to use the draft to bite each other when they're vulnerable. Well, we're seeing these top 4, and actually, I'm sorry, it's top 5 all back together once again. I'm curious to see if it seems that it's basically a pace thing, that since the slower guys were able to jump the faster guys, it really only held them up front for a brief while. And since the pit stops aren't going to be close enough towards the end, I think the smart thing to do for some of these guys that don't have the pace of Jesper Pedersen is to let him go by, slot in behind him, just let him pull you along and wait until that last lap and then make a move.
That's a difficult thing to realize, though, in the heat of this battle when you're in a draft battle with 5 other cars. So I definitely agree with you that that's probably a good thing, as we see Sergio go very wide coming out of Paul Frere. But let's see what these guys do. And it looks like Jesper Pedersen's going to try and make a move on João Freitas.
Yeah, he's looking to the outside of Blanchimont, which they're fast approaching, but he's slotting in behind. He must have lifted or at least lost a little bit being on the outside there. I think that was a smart move. You really don't want to lose too much going side by side through Blanchimont. In fact, now he's closing up quite a bit, but João is going defensive as they head towards the chicane. He's not close enough to really do anything. The red and white car of Yao is going to hold on to second place.
Good close driving there, but I think I'm in agreement with you that probably the smart thing right now is to let Jesper lead and let him burn up as much fuel as possible and give yourself that advantage so that when you stop, you don't have to take as much fuel.
We saw a bit of weaving from Jesper just right there, and it's one of those things where I think perhaps Yao wasn't paying close enough attention or just hasn't processed that information quite yet, because he was probably having his own time trying to fight Sergio to notice how quickly Jesper was closing in on them without the help of the draft. Because I think that's the deciding factor here, is we can see and we know that Jesper is faster than him. He might not be fully aware of that quite yet.
That's true, and we do see Yao moving to driver's left, breaking out of the pack, and he's almost all four off into the grass. I'm not sure quite what was going on there, and he has taken the lead over Sergio Mora.
They were about to go 3 wide for a minute, but Jesper wisely pulled out of that. That would have been a very hairy situation coming to the Lacoon there. But in fact, Jesper's not over yet. He takes another look. He's been weaving a lot. He takes little looks, but then doesn't do anything. I'm wondering if he's trying to shake guys, get them to make a mistake instead of having to try and outdraft them or outbreak them into corners. He's got some very interesting strategy as Sergio goes very, very wide on the no-name corner. They're heading down towards Puan, and now that's allowed Yao Freitas to put a little bit of a distance between them, but I'm pretty sure they're going to close back up as soon as they get to a straightaway.
And guys, if you can hear me once again, I'm just looking at the pits. We have Jay Yanis in the pits just coming out, and Mike McCloskey coming out. So it looks like the second round of pit stops are slowly starting to take place.
Well, this race will be broken into pretty much 4 quarters between the pit stops, since they're saying a 3-stopper for most people. So this doesn't surprise me that we're just about the halfway point in. We're seeing the rest of people start their pit stops. Well, Jesper is once again right on top of the back bumper of Sergio. They're coming down the back straightaway towards Blanchimont. Is he gonna... In fact, I think he's bump drafting him. Now, I've watched someone try this before, and it doesn't really quite work for the MX-5s. He's backed off a little bit, so maybe he's not doing it anymore. But he's really not going to want to touch him and try and push him, because they're just not powerful enough cars to try and make that bump draft work.
Well, it's a little dangerous on the back straight here at Spa, especially going around Blanchimont. A little easy to accidentally spin the car that you're trying to bump draft. So you definitely have to be careful and trust your bump draft partner if you are going to try and make that happen.
Yeah, we're seeing a few guys try some oval tactics, I suppose, as Sergio almost gets in the back of Yao Freitas there, the leader. In fact, that causes Sergio to go wide once again, but Jesper doesn't quite have anything to try and get by him. They're heading down the front straightaway towards Blanchimont. This has been a very intriguing battle. It's an incredibly tactical battle, even though these guys have been swapping places a whole lot. This is turning into a thinker's game, and I'm seeing a few guys start to realize that. It's starting to dawn on them as Jesper possibly proves me wrong and pulls aside there, although maybe he wants to try and keep in contact with Yao. He should have the position as he's got the inside here, coming up towards the braking zone of Lake Coombe. In fact, he very easily outbrakes Sergio, although Sergio's got another car inside of him. That's Wojciech. Wojciech doesn't have the spot. Sergio goes very wide. He loses control of his car briefly. He has to slow down. Wojciech bumps into the back of him. That gives the spot to Konrad Hutton, who doesn't quite take the position from Sergio. It is all happening right now. Konrad's not over yet. He's going to take another look into Rivage, and he doesn't quite have it. This is going to allow that front pack to just start to break away, guys.
Well, that is unfortunate for Sergio Mora, and he may have some damage on the back of his car. I think Wojciech does have some damage on the front of his car, but if they can team up in the draft with each other, then that damage will be effectively nullified. In the meantime, these 3 cars here need to work together, try and catch up with Yao Freitas and Jesper Peterson, who have quite a bit of a gap right already.
Yeah,
and guys, we've got Jim A. Boland in the pits. Jim was up to about 12th, 13th place when he pitted, so he'll drop back a little way from the rest of the pack now.
Thank you for that, Richard. I was about to say, with that battle between these three cars, between Wojciech, Konrad, and Sergio, I honestly would put the blame on Wojciech for trying to stick his nose in there, because I can understand him wanting to try and make up a spot, but it's not like you're hard up for opportunities at a track like this. So he really was the one that kind of unleashed that whole thing, because it really unsettled Sergio and caused them all to kind of get into one another.
I'm in agreement with you, but I can see that they are quickly catching up as they are working together in the draft. So, yeah, you use that draft and use that for the opportunities. I'm not so sure you need to be super aggressive in the middle of this race so far.
Well, as I look a little bit farther down the field, our old friend Carl Williamson, currently up to 7th spot. This guy, as the leaders continue to battle it out, right now he's about 34 seconds back from the leaders. So I don't know that he has the pace to quite catch them. I see that there's about 13 seconds between 5th and 6th, just about 12 seconds, as I'm hearing that Konrad Hutton has entered the pits. Can you see what's going on there, Richard?
Yes, Konrad Hutton has entered the pits. There are a couple of other guys in there as well. He's taking tires and fuel, no doubt, and he was one of the top pack there, so this is important to see where he comes out, Joe.
In the meantime, I'm also getting information that Carl Williamson and Thomas Hallinan are pitting right together. Ayrton, do you see those two heading in?
Yeah, those two are in the first section of the pit lane at the moment.
So, and I do need to point out, we did have a lead change. Jesper Peterson moved around João Freitas on the Kimmel Straight, and João actually pulled over and told Jesper to take the lead. So I'm not entirely sure what he wanted there. Maybe he does want to actually try and conserve a little bit of fuel. Maybe he thinks Jesper's a little faster. I'm not entirely sure. We've got some time to see what is going on in their minds right now.
Well, while those two continue to fight... go ahead, Richard.
Sorry, I'm just watching Carl approaching his stall now, and he drops into his stall as Konrad leaves the pits, and there are a bunch of other guys in the pits as well, so this is going to be very interesting to see where they come out, Joe.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye and see if Thomas and Thomas and Carl were able to jump, or if Carl were able to jump Thomas, because I believe Thomas was behind Carl. So anyways,
Carl's coming out of the pits now.
Go ahead, Richard. We may have lost Richard once again. As he said, Carl Williamson is exiting the pits, and Thomas Hallinan, wow, he got quite a jump on Carl there, although Carl's going to have the pace. In fact, it was a 5-second difference between those two in the pit stops. So whatever Carl is doing, he's either using up more fuel, or he had a bad entry or something there. I'm getting information that Carl actually missed his pit box there. Once again, like I was saying earlier, you got to be able to get everything right. You can't make mistakes anywhere. Well, in the meantime, Carl is dealing with some traffic. In fact, he's just made contact with Mike McCloskey as they head towards Rivage. Is Mike going to get out of the way? Yes, he lets Carl by. Probably a smart move with how much faster Carl is. He's way down in the 40th position, so Mike was actually a lap down. And Carl goes very wide. In fact, he nearly touches the barriers through the no-name corner. That was a bit of a hairy moment for Carl. Carl's got to get his car under control. He's got to get his nerves under control and just calm down here, Kevin.
Absolutely. I do want to mention our third place and fourth place cars of Sergio Mora and Wojciech Swerdowicz, are in pit lane right now, so they are going to serve their pit stop, and they are right next to each other. So this is an opportunity for one to make a little break with a short fuel or not taking tires.
Yeah, I'm watching them right now, and they are right in front of one another. Wojciech has got to be careful. He might miss his pit if he can't see his pit guy. He pulls in, and it looks like he hit it just right as they come out and start to service his car. So we'll have to keep an eye on these guys, Ayrton, as they take what looks like tires.
Yeah, I noticed that Tomas Halonen did not take tires while Carl did, so that's the reason for the jump that Tomas managed to make on Carl.
So that probably had another bit of an effect there. You know, Kevin, you mentioned that Yao had let Jesper by previously, because I'm hopping up with them really quick. And I see that Yao is continuing to follow, and he's not following too terribly closely. In fact, the couple times that I've peeked up at them, he's held just about the same position, which is maybe a car length or a car length and a half behind. So, you know how we were talking a little bit earlier about you got to just kind of calm down and hold station and let the other person do the work for you and then pass them at the end. I'm willing to bet you that Yao has figured that out, and that's what he's planning.
Yeah, I think so. He had led in the front of that group for several laps, and I suspect that maybe he saw that his fuel consumption was running a little high over there. So that's about the only thing that makes sense to me right now. What I am wondering is we've seen everybody else start to stop, and Jesper Peterson and Jan Freitas have not stopped. So is this going to be the lap when they're coming in? And we actually see some chatter going on right now. Jesper's asking if Yao's pitting, and Yao says no. So these guys are working together, we see, by communicating and working their pit strategies together.
Very fascinating development. Something I think is a bit unique to iRacing, being able to work with the other car and actually communicate with them. So it's making things very interesting between these guys. Yao continues to hold on to the back of Jesper there, heading towards the La Source hairpin. He's dropped back just a little bit, but I wonder, with these guys having a little bit of a gap, maybe they're both getting smart and just saying, you know what, we can't let everybody else start to gain on us. We got to try and put some distance here, and then you and I, we can decide, we can you know, kill them all and let God sort it out later, you know.
Yeah, and we are seeing they're actually trying to coordinate their pit strategies. Jesper's asking if they're both going to take a full tank right now. So these guys are definitely getting smart and trying to work together to give themselves a chance at this win.
So very intelligent driving we're seeing from these two guys. Right now, as I'm seeing it scored, Simone Rossini is in third. He's been kind of up there, but never quite that high, so this could be through pit stops that he's moved up there. In the meantime, way back is Sergio Mora, so I do suspect that Simone is up as high as he is without his second pit stop. So,
that's correct.
Thank you, Kevin. In the meantime, Stefan Overgaard also up to fourth, probably also through pit stops. But he's been having a fairly decent race from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, and I think right now he is in that battle with Simon Palmer for fourth and fifth, and neither one has taken their second pit stop, so they are still trying to go at it hammer and tongs.
Now, we heard mention pre-race of some drivers thinking that two stops were possible, but only if you are not one of the hot lappers. So I'm curious to know, because Stefan is fast, but obviously he doesn't have the pace of these top 5 cars, to know if he's using just enough fuel that he could maybe make this a two-stopper. I'm not sure. Ayrton, do you know anything about how that could play out possibly?
Not quite. I think it will be very risky, though. I think the drivers who will be going on that strategy should be knowing that at the beginning of the race and trying to save fuel for the majority of the race, not try to battle with anyone. I think the drivers that are keeping the draft in a big pack will have the best advantage for that.
And we do have Jesper Peterson and Jan Freitas confirming with each other that they are going to stop this this time around. So they are working together. They have decided that they want to make sure that they're the two that will have the chance at the win. This is great stuff.
Yeah, unfortunate for everybody else, because when you get the two titans working together, I don't think there's much chance for anybody. You know, Ayrton mentioned the those who are using the draft. I think it's worth pointing out that even though if you can't do a 2-stopper, if you do a 3-stopper, the draft can come in handy in the fact that the less fuel that you have to put in the car at the end, the less time you spend in the pits, and there's a significant number of positions that you could probably jump by, you know, taking 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds less in your pit stop.
I am going to keep an eye right now on Jesper and Zhao to see if they are taking fresh tires. They are through the interconnector and working their way through the second pit lane, so they are really making it shake down now.
Yeah, they're getting towards their pit stalls, which are going to be way, way up towards the front as another car is exiting out. That would be Sam Aldrich, who is scored at position 31, so he is quite a ways down from these two. They've stopped in their stalls. I didn't see anybody overshoot their stalls, so it looks like all is going well for these guys. Looks like I can see both of them getting tires, so they did, in fact, coordinate effectively. No one's trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. Behind them, we've actually got what looks like Simone Rossini also pitting. So he is 10 seconds behind these two, so he doesn't have much of a chance. As you can see, the two of them take off now and head out back onto the track. Let's see if anybody is able to get close to them.
Sergio Mora is entering Eau Rouge at this moment, so I think Jesper Peterson and João Freitas will be able to keep ahead at the end of this straight.
Yeah, he's got quite a bit of distance between the two of them and him, so I think you're correct there that there's not much of a chance for him to pick up the draft and start running with him. So these two guys' strategy apparently seems to be working. Although Yao is dropped a little bit, I think the draft isn't gone yet, so he's gonna be able to pick that back up most likely. Sergio Mora is effectively in 3rd place. Behind him, we've got Konrad Hutton, who is effectively in 4th place, with Wacek behind him.
And João Freitas has spun in Rivage. I'm sorry to interrupt, but João Freitas is off track.
Ooh, this is a serious blow to Yao's strategy. Although this probably is not going to hurt Jesper Pedersen. He just won't have anybody to work with at this point, so his fuel is going to be used up, and I can see that João Freitas just got into it a little too hard around Rivage and overcorrected, and off he went into the kitty litter, unfortunately. So he's got some time to make up there, although I wouldn't doubt if he's able to catch up with guys like Konrad and Wacek. But speaking of which, there's actually a bit of a distance between Konrad and Wacek right now. So those guys, unless Konrad slows down, aren't going to be working together either. Neither will they with Sergio Mora, who've all put some distance. And everyone's starting to get some space now, Kevin.
Yeah, that really shook things up. Yao's spin really shook things up. Looks like Jesper might have about a 3 or 4 second lead on Sergio Mora. We'll know next time by on the line. So Jesper may have broken the draft on anybody following him. So he's definitely sitting pretty right now in the lead of this race.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the standings because I'm very curious where Carl Williamson is, and right now he's being scored as 13th, but with the pit stop cycling through, I'd like to see exactly where he winds up. As we watch him, let's just go through the leaders real quick to let you know how it's standing. Jesper Pedersen is in 1st. Right now behind him we've got Simone Rossini in 2nd. Then in 3rd it's Simon Palmer. 4th is Stefan Overgaard. I apologize. I believe this is incorrect information. We might have to wait until everyone runs by the line here. Well, in the meantime, while we wait for that to happen, since we're watching Carl Williamson, he's got actually Arthur Chan scored is behind him. We haven't talked a whole lot about Arthur. He's scored at 14th currently. But Arthur's just come off a very good weekend. He had a win yesterday in the Blondie series, so I'm sure he's running on a high. He's got a little bit of a ways between him and Carl as Arthur goes a little bit weird through that chicane. Got a little squirrely, I think. But he's been running a very quiet race from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, Arthur, he did not have a very good first pit stop and lost quite a bit of time to the pack of cars he had been running in. But he is kind of working his way back forwards, although he is a bit of distance behind the, let's see, timing and scoring is just updating now, behind the 13th place of Simon Palmer.
Yes, and now that we do have the updated scoring, I'm going to run through the leaders once more. Jesper Pedersen is leading. Sergio Mora currently holds second. A little ways back is Konrad Hutton and Wojciech Sirodix. Then João Freitas is in fifth, trying to make a recovery drive after his mistake. Simone Rossini is in sixth, a very respectable sixth after a relatively quiet race for him. Jair Yanis is in seventh with Jim A. Boland in eighth. Then we've got Tuomas Hallinen in ninth and Carl Williamson finishing out the top 10.
So we do see that Carl Williamson, that first pit stop of not taking tires definitely helped him out in that second stint, but having to take tires this time around and Tuomas Hallinen not taking tires has hurt Carl a little bit, and so we're going to have to see how that finishes up on the third pit stop. If Tuomas doesn't take tires, he's going to be a sit and duck for Carl Williamson, we know that for sure, unless Carl has the pace to catch up to him in this stint.
Yeah, well, it seems that Tuomas has been a bit of a match for Carl from what we've seen so far. Just ahead of them is Jim A. Boland, though. So they seem to have been kind of closing up over time because Jim was much more by himself earlier on. And I can see that there's actually not much distance between Jim and Tuomas.
Yeah, Tuomas is right on the edge of the draft of Jim's, and so this is going to be a chance for him to finally catch up to Jim and maybe make a move. Jim's had a real quiet race running by himself, but now he's going to have a little battle for that 8th place position, it looks like.
Well, I can confirm that Carl Williamson does not have the pace of the leaders, so at least currently. Last time I looked at him, he was about 35 seconds back from the leader. He is right now 41 seconds back, so he's been losing time, whether that's through traffic or pure pace. We don't know for sure. But whatever the case, he's probably not in contention to run them down for a win, which, as miraculous and cool as that would be, just not likely at this point.
We do still have a battle for third place with Konrad Hutton and Wojciech. They are currently nose to tail on the Kimmel Straight, trying to run down Sergio Mora, who's only a few car lengths in front of them. So definitely the podium is still open for anybody right now.
And a podium position would be a nice little feather in the cap of anybody in this field, because this is an incredibly stacked field. The best of the best have come out for this race today at the Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps. And we're about a minute and 20 into this race right now. So we've got less than halfway to go. In fact, we're getting close to the final quarter of this race. And Konrad was able to successfully defend from Wojciech. He's still got third. With Wojciech having a bit of damage from a little bit of earlier running with Sergio, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to play a patient game and just kind of hold on to Konrad and wait for the end, like we keep saying a lot of guys need to do.
Yeah, that's true. I think João Freitas, though, who is sitting in 5th place about 6 seconds back, is desperately hoping that these two guys might try and be running side by side the entire length of the track, so he might be able to catch up to them.
João is a very fast driver, and as he gets by, let's see, it looks like a lap traffic of Sam Aldcroft here. João is, I'm pretty sure he's going to have the legs to try and reel these guys in. Right now, he is about, last time by the line, 6 seconds back from them, which isn't too tall of an order, depending on, let's see, what his last lap was a 2:53.9, and Wojciech's last lap was a 2:53.7, so maybe I'll eat my words. There could be some lap traffic in there. It's hard to say at this point, but Wojciech also does have Konrad to help him out, so maybe, let's see, Konrad was a 2:54.4. So, yeah, at some point in here, I wouldn't be shocked if João Freitas is starting to kind of pull them in and get back in contention for a podium.
Yes, with 40 minutes still left in the race, there is quite a bit of time, as we do see Sergio and Konrad and Wojciech seem to be moving a little bit closer to each other, which will only help them out overall.
It's also worth noting that these second, third, and fourth place cars of Sergio, Konrad, and Wojciech are about little over 6 seconds behind Jesper Pedersen, who continues to lead with currently no problems now that Yao is out of the picture, although he is without his partner. And that little gray car is kind of fighting for himself, but unless he makes a mistake like Yao did, I really don't see anybody hassling him, because Jesper has been fighting for the win and had the pace for the win for this entire race.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like he was the fastest car on the track to me, and with a 7-second lead last time by on the finish line, chances are he's probably just going to back it off a little bit and make sure that he doesn't run into any problems and stays all four on the track, and will probably try and set himself up to make sure that he drives home with the win.
About the only thing that could really ruin his race at this point is possibly some lap traffic hold him up at some unfortunate spots. And we've seen in other races, especially endurance races, that lap traffic can definitely ruin your day. Just ask Jan Koemans how his race went yesterday for the Blondies MX-5 World Tour. Well, since we've looked at these leaders for a little bit, Ayrton, do you see any better battles farther down the field?
We do have a good battle with Jim Bolin, Tomas Hallonen, and Carl Williamson for 8th place. Jim just got passed at the end of the straight, and at the moment these guys are really close together, and they have Stefan Overgaard not far behind.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a pack of 4 here, and I'm not shocked that Jim got hunted down, although he's been running a very good race, I think, to be in the position that he is in, just kind of keeping out of trouble. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see Carl pip him anytime soon, probably going to happen during this lap if the draft has anything to say about it. In the meantime, with Stefan behind Carl, if he can get into Carl's draft, I'm pretty sure Stefan's going to want to just kind of ride on the coattails of that red and black MX-5 if he can.
And guys, I'm back if you can hear me.
We've got you.
Glad to be back.
Hopefully this time we've got you back for good, Richard. Not sure if you've been following the race, but currently we've got Jesper Pedersen leading with Sergio Mora quite a ways back in 2nd, and Konrad Hutton in 3rd. Yao Freitas had made a mistake earlier. He's following up in 5th, but trying to make a recovery drive.
And I've been watching Carl Williamson, as you've been talking about him. He's currently hunting down Thomas Hallonen, Joe.
Yeah, in fact, he's got Jim Bolin between them. In fact, he's looking on the inside. Jim is looking defensive. Is he going to go back to the line? He does. He re-enters the racing line. Carl has got the inside on this part of the corner. He outbrakes him. Has he got enough? They're getting very, very close. Jim's got the inside of this corner. Carl gives him room as they enter the straightaway towards La Source. Carl's still ahead. I think he's got moved on. In fact, yes, he moves back on the racing line.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising to me how wide these guys are going. Obviously, they're taking full advantage of the fact that there are no penalties being applied for going wide into the corners, Joe.
Yeah, the thing that I'm glad about, though, is that it seems like they're only doing it when there's some side-by-side racing going on. It could be very easy to play a bit of a naughty game and get a little bit of a lap time by going wide on every corner and just giving yourself a better exit. But everybody seems to be playing fair and just racing to what's right rather than what's going to get you a little bit of an edge.
Yes, well, with all the problems that I had, I will not be hogging the broadcast here. I'll hand back to you guys, and I'll just sit in the background so as not to interrupt or disrupt the broadcast, Joe.
All right, well, hopefully we'll be able to check in for some thoughts at the end of the race from you, because you usually have some good things to say.
We have a crash. Konrad Hutton gets taken out by a lap car of Paul Hayward.
And more cars are wrecking. Is that Wojciech? No, that's Miguel Angel Perez. And oh, we've got, that was...
Yao Freitas.
Yao Freitas has run into these cars. These guys have got to get off the racing line. Let's check the replay here and see what happened. Yeah, the lap car just moved into the way of Konrad there, and that was it. Then these guys were kind of on the racing line, and this is a fast, blind corner, so they really couldn't see what was going on. So we've got one car running into them. We've got two cars running into them. Does anybody else run into these guys? No, they seem to have moved out of the way, thankfully, by that point. But, oh man, that's an unfortunate development, but it just goes to show you can't count your chickens until they hatch, because with endurance racing, staying out of trouble is equally as important as skill as being able to be fast.
Yeah, that's definitely unfortunate for Freitas. He is now at DNF, so what was looking for him as a shot at the win here is it's all over in tears for him with more than half an hour to go.
Yeah, and you know, that's one of those woulda, coulda, shoulda things, because I know I've had that happen to me before where you're running really well, you got a chance at a very good finish, you make one mistake and you send yourself back into the thick of other cars, and you know, at that point the risks start increasing, and as we see, they finally bit him because if he hadn't have made that mistake and he was still with Jesper, he wouldn't have had those cars to worry about and run into.
And guys, the battle with Carl Williamson continues, and Thomas Hallonen. This seems to be the most interesting one at the moment, because certainly Carl Williamson is now right on the bumper of Thomas Hallonen, looking for 8th place at this point in time.
Yeah, Thomas has not been making things easy for Carl, and I'm sure Carl really wanted to run away from this battle rather than having to duke it out. But in the meantime, Jim Boland is still holding on to the back of these guys. So Jim's kind of got a little bit of a draft going to help him get into higher positions, possibly. We'll see how high up these guys are able to go. This is for 7th, 8th, and 9th, or 6th, 7th, and 8th currently, as Carl finally gets a draft on Thomas and starts to go by him. Jim's looking to gain another position. He's on the outside, though. He's not going to be able to really outbreak him because he's got Carl in front of him. As they head into Lacombe, he backs off wisely and slots in behind Thomas. Is he going to be able to hold on to the draft here? He's pretty much close now, so all he's got to do is keep hold of Thomas, and Thomas has got to keep hold of Carl and hopefully not continue to hassle him. And these guys can probably make up some time.
Now, Carl Williamson, bear in mind, this guy started from somewhere around 40th, 44th place or something like that, really far back. He's currently up to 7th place, and I don't know how far behind. 6th place now, I'm hearing, so he has made up a massive number of places, Joe.
Yeah, and I think it's worth pointing out that Yair Yanis, who we haven't talked a whole lot about, is being scored as 5th. Ayrton, have you seen whether or not he's pitted yet? Has he just jumped people through pit stops, or what's going on there?
I think he seemed to. He was a little farther back before the pit stop cycle went through, and I think he did gain an advantage in the pit stops. While we talk about pit stops, we have about 30 minutes left of this race, and I think we may see some drivers just getting that 3rd stop in before the end.
Yeah, it's going to start cycling through. Things are going to get a little confusing once again, but this is really going to be a deciding factor. I think this is the most crucial pit stop of the entire race, if anything. Yair has got that Blondie's scheme that we had mentioned, so he is looking to do fairly well, I'd say, if he can hold on to this 5th position, although I take that back. He's pulling into the pits right now as I speak.
And guys, Carl Williamson, he's 44 seconds off the lead, so with the amount of time that's left, I don't think he'll be challenging for a podium position, but certainly we have to take our hats off to this guy, who's probably been the most improved position-wise of all the competitors in this race.
Although it's worth noting that he did not put a qualifying lap in, so the most improved wasn't necessarily a difference between race pace and qualifying pace for him. So, but still, that's an impressive feat nonetheless. That's I really got to take my hat off to him. So let's find ourselves a battle, since we know that Thomas and Carl have just kind of been swapping places back and forth for a while here. I'm looking through the field to see what I can find. If let's see, I'm seeing that we've got a battle between Dwayne Stoddart and Tori Tesla. Let me pull those guys up. This is currently for the 18th and 19th position, 17th and 19th, or 17th and 18th position. I apologize. They're heading down the back straightaway towards Blanchimont. This is a little bit lower down, but you know, every position counts for these guys. Dwayne qualified in 21st, so he has made up some spots as they go around from lap traffic. Hairy moment for Dwayne there. Glad he was able to keep out of it through Blanchimont. I don't think he really wanted to have to pass that traffic through that spot. They're braking now for the chicane, and it looks like Tori got a little bit squirrely under braking. This has allowed Dwayne to get up beside him, and he's going to have the inside into Lourens if he got a better exit. Doesn't look like he was quite fast enough, so he's going to have to slide him behind. He's staying on the inside. He wants to take another look. Is Dwayne going to outbrake him? Yes, he's able to get a little bit ahead, and now I think he's got the position. In fact, yes, No, I'm sorry, I called it a little bit too soon. Tori got a very good exit on the exit of Lourens there, so he's going to take the spot back. Very good driving from Tori. Hats off to him.
And guys, we know that Arthur Chan, was in 14th place, he's in the pits. We know about Jay Yannis, Dexter Castro has been in the pits as well. So some of the guys that we know and have been running up at least in the top 20 have just done their final pit stop, no doubt.
In the meantime, Tori was vulnerable to that draft down the Kimmel Straight, and so he has let Dwayne Stoddart by, and that's going to give Dwayne the position.
One thing I would like to point out is Dwayne Stoddart and Tori Tesla are wearing the colors of the AAA Racing Academy, which is a group that Jesper Peterson is part of that does a lot of work in helping out beginning iRacers really learn the fundamentals and basics of racing and working on iRacing to go faster. And we definitely know that Jesper Peterson's pretty good at it, but it looks like Tori Tesla and Dwayne Stoddart have definitely learned and picked up some tricks from Jesper, as they are actually having a good run here, even if they are at the end of the lead lap. They are still on the racetrack and still working their way towards the finish.
Yeah, a finish in an endurance race, even if you're midfield, is something worth being proud of, especially in a field as competitive as this. So they should not be ashamed of, you know, a 16th and a 17th if that's where they wind up. So, and also, you know, we can't thank the AAA Academy enough for all that they do to help people learn how to race safely and quickly. So that's definitely a worthy cause in my mind's eye.
Sorry to cut in, but Carl Williamson is just entering the pits from 6th position. So that, I think, is going to put pay to any chances he might have had of getting on the podium.
Yeah, he definitely didn't have the pace for that, unfortunately. He's getting all 4 tires, it looks like, from what I'm seeing. So I still think a top 10 is easily within his grasp. Maybe a top 5 if we see some mistakes from the guys up front. We'll have to see what kind of pace Carl is able to run in the final quarter of this race. In fact, is that Jim Bolin pulling out in front of him? No, that is Nuno Fred Nunez. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Jim Bolin did follow Carl Williamson into pit lane and did also take 4 tires, as he is another member of AAA Racing Academy, and he's pulling out of pit lane right behind Carl.
He's a little bit ways behind. He might have lost touch here, which is going to really hurt Jim because he didn't quite have the pace of those guys. Let's see, looking up front, I see that Sergio Mora does have Wojciech Swerwix. I apologize with that name. Swerwidowicz. There we go. I'm just going to call you Wojciech for the rest of the time. Wojciech is keeping hold of Sergio right now. I'm not sure if these guys have pitted. Ayrton, have you seen if they've done their last pit stop?
No, those two are still running out.
All right.
Wojciech is all over the back of Sergio now. Seems like Sergio hasn't got much pace at the moment, although he seems to, as they go down the front straight, he seems to be holding station. But Wojciech is certainly hunting him down, Joe.
And that impresses me because Sergio did seem to have pace earlier on, was fighting with the top 3 quite a bit. And Wacek, as far as we knew, was dealing with some damage. I guess he isn't with the way that he's been able to keep up. He's currently scored in third. So Wacek is looking at a podium if things hold station. As they head through Eau Rouge, he's going to have an opportunity to do something on Sergio if he stays this close. Again, he probably won't want to do anything quite yet because it's still early days. He's going to look to the outside as Sergio goes defensive. Is he going to let him back by, or is Sergio just letting them by and maybe seeing if he can get behind him and save some fuel? He's slotting in now, so yeah, he's just giving up the position to Wacek, who moves up into second place.
That's correct. Second place is nothing to be sniffed at in a race of this high attrition. So Sergio somehow has moved off the pace. He may have taken a little bit of damage, but certainly he's still in third place, and that is an excellent achievement.
Definitely. I apologize. No, sorry about that. Simone Rossini, in the meantime, is scored in fourth, and he's 24 seconds back from the leader. He's about what looks like 15 seconds back from third place there. So he's not really a threat to those guys, but like you were saying, these top positions, they are extremely valuable. These are diamonds that these guys are grabbing for, and Simone needs to be very proud of what he's achieved here, because he started in sixth, so making up 2 spots is still worth you know, patting yourself on the back.
And Thomas Halonen, who was running at one point in 8th place, has entered the pits, so that's going to put him further back as well.
Now, however, he did not take tires, and he did not take tires the last time in hit pit lane, so he's on some old rubber here. I wonder if that's going to help him or hurt him.
Yeah, and we know that Carl Williamson did not take tires, as I see him now heading up Eau Rouge, so he's going to close in on Tumas. We're going to see if they're going to continue their fight or if this has allowed Tumas to get away from him. Looking, and there's a significant amount of distance between them, so I don't think Carl is going to be able to catch the draft. So maybe no, he's starting to close in since Tumas was exiting the pits there. He's getting to within maybe about 10 car lengths, and I think, yeah, he's gonna come back up and he's gonna continue this battle, which is interesting. So, in fact, Tumas got balked by the lap traffic there, so this allows Carl to be right up on his bumper. In fact, he's already making a move into Ravage. He looks on the inside. He's not close enough to make it happen, but he's less than a car length. He's right on top of Tumas. He's going to look again, but no, he slots back in through the no-name straight as they head down the hill towards Puhan, Kevin.
Yeah, so since Carl Williamson is on fresher rubber right now, even though neither took tires last time around, I think Carl's definitely sitting in the catbird seat. So I think he wants to make a move right now while he's still got the bigger advantage on the tires, and he definitely looks like the faster car at this moment.
Very much so. He's threatening Tumas all over the place. Isn't able to get by into the Fania's corners, but he's right on top of that bumper still. I'm going to agree with you that he's got to make something happen now before he overheats his own tires on trying to get by him here. What I was going to point out is it was interesting that Tumas didn't take tires and yet still was back with Carl. So Carl clearly made up some time with either with his tires or avoiding traffic or something there. It didn't work out for Tumas quite like he'd hoped. Last time by the line, they were scored at 10th and 11th, so this is for a top 10 position potentially here.
And Wacek and Sergio Mora both came into pit lane and both took fresh tires, and they are both leaving pit lane now. It looks like Wacek made a little bit of a gap on Sergio, so they are ready for a sprint to the end here.
And that was from second and third and fourth position, so very interesting this last few minutes.
And meanwhile, behind them, Stefan Overgaard is currently scored in 5th behind Sergio. So I'm not sure if that's completely accurate.
Stefan is actually ahead of them, so he is in the 3rd position at the moment, but
he should be in
the
third
top 3
position.
guys have not pitted yet.
It'll all shake out in a few minutes as they cross the line. But it looks to me like Stefan has moved up into 3rd place behind Jesper Pedersen. And Simone Rossini if I am correct and if the screen is correct, is in second place now, Joe.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Simone has pitted. Ayrton might be able to shed some light on that, but he's been working his way up.
He has not pitted. I'm looking at the pit screen here, and he's not showing up there. So if he can run to the end, he's got a second place.
It'd be a very tall order, I think, for him to make it that far. But if he does, wow, if he does manage that, then wow, that's some really good thinking driving from him. In the meantime, Wacek has definitely put a fair bit of space between him and Sergio. So Wacek
Jesper's coming into the pits, I believe. Is Jesper coming into the pits? Yes, he is.
All right, so this is going to be probably the deciding pit stop of the race. If he can keep this clean, keep it right, and stay out of trouble for the rest of it, he's got the win in his hand, I'd say.
Yes, well, he was our leader, and he's currently going down that long pit, getting into his stall. So we'll see what happens as far as he's concerned.
Definitely, and looking back, last time by the line, Simone Rossini was 25 seconds back, and in fact, he passes him just now, so Simone is inheriting the lead. We've got to keep half an eye on him and see if he's going to hop into the pits anytime soon at all. In the meantime, Wacek is coming through the chicane right now, so Jesper is, let's see, is he taking tires? Yes, he is in fact taking tires. Wacek is going to have to make a tall order to catch up to Jesper. Jesper's getting that. Yes, thank you. Jesper is taking the last half of his tires. He takes off now. Where is Wacek? Wacek is coming off of Lourens, so he's going to have a bit of speed here. But Jesper is picking things up. He's getting his momentum going as he comes through the exit of the pits on Eau Rouge. I don't think Wacek is nearly close enough. Wacek is coming through Eau Rouge right now. Yeah, I'd say there's quite a bit of distance between these two. So that's going to be it for Jesper. He is effectively going to be our leader once Simone pits. That's going to be, Simone is the last big question mark of these guys. Though if Simone goes long enough, he could short fuel and take maybe a gallon less and maybe get himself one more position. In the meantime, Stefan Overgaard is currently scored in third. And has Ayrton, has Stefan pitted his final time?
No, he has not. I'm not seeing him in the pit list for a long time. So I believe he will still have to pit, as will Simone, which means that Jesper Pedersen will easily inherit the first place once again.
All right. Well, things are starting to shake out, and we're starting to get a much clearer picture of who is doing what. In the meantime, I'm looking back, and Konrad Hutton, who actually ran into trouble a little earlier, was kind of fighting for the podium. He's still in sixth, so even though he's dropped down, Konrad is not out of things yet. He's not real close to anybody. Simon Palmer is about 3 seconds back from him. But I think good on Konrad to organize this league for being able to at least run as high as this.
Yes, he's done a fantastic job both in organizing the race and in doing the race himself, because currently the screen is showing him in 6th place. Not sure whether that's entirely accurate, but he's done a great job.
I must say that Carl Williamson and Tomas Hallinen, they're still going at it. They're bumper to bumper at the moment, and Jimmy Boland is still not far behind. So these guys have been battling
as
all
Carl
race
makes
long.
Carl makes a move on Thomas as we speak, side by side going into the right-hander, but Thomas manages to hold it. Carl's on the inside, and will he get it? Yes, I think. No, Thomas is battling as hard as Carl, and I think Thomas has now got the inside as they go into approaching Rivage, and yeah, Carl falls back in line.
Yeah, with the way these guys are fighting, they're definitely going to start losing time. This is going to allow Jim to start to gain on them, maybe get back in that draft. Carl is still not through with Tumas, and he's looking on the inside. He's got track position. He's going to try and hold it through Blanchemont. It looks like. How close are they going to get? And Tumas gives up the ghost.
He's got him.
and lets him through. So probably smart driving from Tumas there, knowing that he can probably fight another day with the way their pace is so similar.
Not many days left though, Joe. And Thomas has him back again as Carl makes a mistake going into the bus stop, and Thomas has certainly got that position back. Jim A. Boland is right on the back of Carl now, Joe.
Yeah, this, like I said, it's just allowed Jim to get up to them, so Jim's going to be able to threaten now. The question is he going to hassle him, or is he going to wait? Because we've got a little less than 15 minutes left to go in this race, so it's not quite the time to do it yet.
No, but this is certainly developing into a late-stage battle that is a little unexpected. After 1 hour and 47 minutes, you have a few cars in the top 10 still battling it out for position there, Joe.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that, I believe we might have mentioned this before, but Jim A. Boland is also a AAA school driver. So good on him for using those smarts to get as high up as he has, possibly a top 10 it's looking like.
And he's looking on the outside of Carl Williamson. He's got his nose slightly in front. I think him and Carl cuts him off, having the inside line, and so he falls back into line there, Joe.
So I do want to mention that our current leaders, Simone Rossini and our current second place position car, Stefan Overgaard, are still out on track. They have not, and as I say that, Simone Rossini is going to go into pit lane.
Absolutely correct. Simone Rossini has just pitted. Stefan, I think, is still carrying on.
He is, and so he's still about 30 seconds behind Simone, so he's got a ways to catch up yet. So we think that Simone does not have a big enough gap right now on Jesper Peterson to retain the lead, but we'll know here in a few seconds.
Yeah, I will watch Simone to see what he does as far as fuel and tires.
And Stefan Overgaard has entered pit lane, so our final moves are being made right now.
Simone still hasn't got into his pit stall. Gosh, this is a long pit lane.
It's just an excruciating drive at only about 35 miles an hour, all the way down the first pit lane, through that tight little hairpin, don't move out onto the track, and then all the way down that second pit lane before you finally enter your box. That can take forever, it seems like.
He's just entered his box right now, and he had to back up just a little bit. He's taking left side tires.
And Jesper has just driven right past Simone while Simone's still in pit lane. So that is shaken out. Jesper is our overall leader as he goes through Eau and takes the run down the Kimmel Straight.
And Simone has taken 4 tires, waiting on the fuel load to finish, and is just leaving the pits now. 21 seconds, I believe, we're hearing he's taken to pit. So where will he come out? Second place, I believe?
Nope. Wojciech and Sergio Mora are still together, and they've now inherited the second and third positions.
And Stefan Overgaard has pitted, guys.
Absolutely, and he has lost a few positions. I'm trying to see if he's going to be able to stay in front of the battle for 8th with Thomas and Carl Williamson and Jim Boland, and I think he may actually have that.
Yeah, he's being shown in 5th position at the moment with Konrad Hutton behind him, but that can't be right.
No, he is behind Jiri Yanis on track, and he's got Thomas and Carl and Jim Boland very close behind him. So that battle of 3, as Carl Williamson makes a move on the inside of Lacombe, and he's got it, and it looks like Jim Boland's going to stay behind. And Carl Williamson made quite a gap on just in the right-hander there, and it looks like Carl Williamson's going to drive away a little bit as they approach Rivage.
Well, these guys have been fighting for most of the race, and in fact, I don't think I've seen any part of the race where, except for maybe the first few laps, where Tumas and Carl weren't duking it out together. So they've become very familiar with each other over the course of things, and they're going to have fewer tricks to be able to pull on one another. Jim, in the meantime, is doing quite excellent.
And Stefan Overgaard went way wide on Puhan, and that's going to lose him a lot of time. He was about a quarter mile off the track there in the huge runoff. I'm not entirely sure exactly what happened there, but he has shot himself in the foot a little bit.
Yeah, and Jesper Pedersen, who we believe is running in first place, he's just coming onto the front straight now. So as soon as this lap is completed with 1 hour and 51 minutes gone in the race, we should get a good idea of where everyone is.
Well, I think it's worth noting, we thought that Simone would be handing it back. We've got 9 minutes left to go. Simone still hasn't pitted. He is 16 seconds ahead, even though
he has pitted. He has pitted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's
Konrad is one of the drivers right in front of Simone, who still has not made his third pit stop, and he's running it very late. I think one of the only drivers in the top 10 who still hasn't made that third pit stop.
That's correct, Ayrton. So it remains to be seen. Surely he can't go to the end, although there's only 8 minutes left, unless he's been driving very, very conservatively.
No, Konrad has made 3 stops. In fact, everybody has made at least 3 stops at this point in the race.
Okay, that must have been quite early on, Kevin, because he's not even showing in the list here.
Yeah.
I don't know when his third stop was made. I'm just showing that he has made 3 stops. I'm sorry.
Okay, so it looks to me we might be able to run through the list now. Joe, I think the top 5 is pretty much settled at this point in time.
Yeah, with only a scant 7 minutes to go, Jesper Peterson is leading. Wojciech is in second. Sergio Mora is in third. We've got Konrad Hutton following up in fourth, about 25 seconds back from the leader. Then Simone Rossini is in fifth, a very good top 5 from him. Yanis is in sixth. Stefan Overgaard has worked his way up to seventh. Carl Williamson, who we've watched battle quite a bit, is trying to decide eighth with Tuomas Hallinen.
And still battling.
Yeah. Those guys are 8th and 9th, and then behind them, Jim A. Boland is kind of waiting for everything to fall into place between them so that he can maybe snipe them, but he is in 10th.
And let me say that Tuomas Hallinen has got ahead of Carl Williamson again, and Jim A. Boland still just following a few yards behind. So these guys, it's going to be a battle, I think, right to the end to see who gets that 8th place.
And our second place car, Wojciech, just went 4 off on Paul Ferreira entering the back straight. So this has opened up Sergio Mora a chance for him to see if he might be able to catch that draft and make a move here in the very next couple of laps.
Yeah, I'm sure even though Sergio would be happy with a podium, a second place would be even sweeter. So he's pulling up on that draft. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a move. Is Wojciech going to go defensive? No. In fact, Sergio does take a look on the inside, but he's just not close enough under braking. Wojciech goes a little bit wide, though, into the chicane. He's going to have the inside on this second part. Is Sergio going to be able to out-drag him? Sergio goes very wide to avoid him. And he's clear ahead of Wojciech. Incredible driving from Sergio. Very good pass.
And he's up to second place now, which means that he's gained 1 spot. Wojciech will be kicking himself for going wide into the bus stop there.
Yeah, it's those little mistakes that are going to cost you. So it's interesting to see that how things have shaken out as the course of this race has gone by, because we've seen attrition take people out, we've seen bad strategy calls take people out. We've seen just simple, personal mistakes like Yao Freitas take people out. It's just been a mix of everything.
Wojciech's coming back. Sorry, Joe. Wojciech's coming back at Sergio. In fact, he's passing him as I speak, as they go up the Camel Straight. So he's got the position back again.
And that's, he's going to have that done and dusted by Lecum. In fact, he slots back in line ahead of Sergio. So he's not done with this thing yet. But we've got less than 5 minutes to go for these guys, so it's really going to be time to decide when you're going to do things, because I think we're going to get probably 2 more laps around the track, and then it's going to be over.
Well, Joe, I think unless anything funny happens, Jesper Pedersen in first place. He's got about 8 seconds on Wojciech. Sergio is a little way back, about a second off Wojciech. Konrad Hutton is 25 seconds back from the leader, so I don't think he'll be challenging for a podium position. So it looks like Sergio Moura and Wojciech is the only battle that we've got left.
Yeah, there's still a Simone Rosini came out of pits very close to Konrad Hutton, and he's closing in on him. So I think that battle for 4th place will happen in just a lap or two.
And our battle for 8th with Carl Williamson and Thomas Hallinan and Jim Bolland has been shaken up a little bit. Jim Bolland actually made a move, and Thomas Hallinan got dropped to the trailing position of that group of 3 as they continue to duke it out in these last couple laps.
Well, I think Jim decided enough was enough, and time's run out, so he's going to make a decision for these two since they couldn't decide between themselves. So if he can get a little bit closer up to Carl here, he's going to have an opportunity on the next lap by. We're at about 1:57.18 as I look at the clock, so there's about 3 minutes left, and Jesper Peterson is coming by, so it's going to be close actually. It could be 1 lap, it could be 2 laps. No, I take that back. It will be 1 lap to go because he's not going to get by until there is less than 3 minutes left. So there is, as he goes around La Source, he's going to come to the white flag.
And I think Carl Williamson has given himself just a little bit of breathing space because he has about a second or 2 lead on Jim A. Bolland, who has done really, really well in this race. I did not expect Jim A. Bolland to be in the top 10, but he's certainly proven us all wrong there. Thomas Hallinan is still trying to take that position from him. It remains to be seen what will happen right at the end. So back to you, Joe.
Yeah, you know, I think Jim had managed to work his way through this thing simply by kind of hanging on. I don't think he quite had the pace of these two, but I think he played an incredibly smart race, and it's not over yet, granted.
Sorry to cut you off. Sorry to cut you off. Keep an eye on Wojciech and Sergio. They're still going at it, Joe.
Yes, let's hop up with them. We're not seeing the white flag yet, so they must have crossed the line with a little bit more than 1 lap to go. Wojciech just got passed by Sergio, so Sergio is currently holding on to 2nd. From what we have seen, it's not going to be done quite yet unless someone makes a big mistake, because Wojciech's probably going to be closing back in with that draft.
That's correct. Wojciech was leading what seemed to be a little bit comfortably, and then Sergio, who played a waiting game, suddenly attacked with venom, I would say, and has taken the place and has moved probably a half a second to a second ahead now.
Well, Jesper has left these guys to basically fight over the scraps, it seems like, because he is circulating through what is the Fagnes chicane and heading towards the Curve of Paul Frere, all by his lonesome, with about 7 seconds between him and Wojciech and Sergio. So he's pretty much got it wrapped up, as we've said. I want to hop back to Sergio. I'm sorry we're being a little bit frenetic, but just trying to keep hold of whether or not the race is finishing or not. Wojciech is pulling into the draft of Sergio right now as they head towards Blanchimont. And is he going to try and make a move? This might be his last opportunity. It's not sure. In fact, 2 hours have gone by on my clock.
Well, the white flag has certainly flown, so Jesper Pedersen is on his last lap and should take the win. Wojciech and Sergio, I don't know. Let's go back to that one.
Yes, Wojciech took a look on the outside, but Sergio defended. In fact, Sergio has done so successfully. Wojciech has got to slot back in line. He's got to get one more chance, I think. They're coming up on some lap traffic. What's going to happen here? Those guys are actually fighting between themselves from what it looks like. Wojciech isn't quite close enough. He's got a bit of the draft. He's going to try and outbreak him into La Source. No, he's not able to. So that's going to be it between those two. Jesper Peterson, in the meantime, is heading towards the start-finish line, and he takes the checkered flag, winning the 2 hours Super MX-5 Super Showdown.
And it looks to me as if Sergio, even though we're on the white flag, we're hearing that they still have to go around one more time. So it looks like Jesper has not quite won it yet, Joe.
I apologize for that. We're trying to get our timing and scoring in order here. So Sergio is going to have to defend even longer. In fact, they're being very wild. There was a lot of weaving going on between Sergio and Wojciech, but Wojciech has managed to split himself and in a lapped car. He's got the inside of the Lacombe. In fact, he's clear past Sergio now. So Wojciech has taken second position back, but this means that Wojciech is going to be vulnerable as they head down the back straightaway later on in the lap.
I think it's going to be a frantic charge to the bus stop. Let's just see what happens here, Joe.
Yeah, I think these two are the battle that we want to stay with. Sergio is just kind of holding back. He's a few car lengths back, but that doesn't mean it's over yet. He's the draft is going to probably pull him back in. They head down the hill towards Puhan, that fast left-hander, as they break into there. Ayrton, if you could prep us on the next closest battle after them, keep us a little updated on that. We're going to keep an eye on these guys right now. Sergio has got maybe 3 car lengths. He closes in under braking into the Fanyu chicane. He's getting closer. He's definitely going to have the draft now. Wojciech is going to be under threat. They head towards Curva Paul Frere, the double right-hander. Is he going to close in this time? He closes in just a little bit, but not as much as last time. Sergio is hunting Wojciech down foot by foot. Second by second, he's closing in. He dropped a little bit of time. Is the draft going to be enough to give him an opportunity? They're heading towards Blanchimont. He's going to get the timing right because he's not going to close in too quickly here. He reels in Wojciech.
I don't think he's going to do it.
I think he's going to give it a go no matter what. In fact, yeah, I can see him physically closing. It's getting down to 2 car lengths. 1 car length. He's getting closer. Is he going to make a dive? He's going to take a look, but no, he doesn't. He slots back in line. And in fact, Wojciech goes a little bit wide as he goes slightly defensive. And Sergio gets on the gas too fast and he loses it. Oh, that's going to kill his chances. In the meantime, Jesper Pedersen is coming towards La Source. He's rounding the corner. This time for sure we know that we've had the white flag. And he's going to head down the start-finish line. After 2 hours around Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, Jesper Pedersen is taking the checkered flag, weaving in victory at the MX-5 Super Showdown. Well done, Jesper.
And we have a battle for 8th place as Carl Williamson went 4 off and, out of Paul Frere, and that allowed Thomas Hallinan to drive past him as they approached the chicane on this last lap.
In fact, I saw some contact between those two. Carl Williamson got into the back of him. He's going to try and outbrake around the outside of the chicane. They make contact again. They get extremely close. Carl has got the inside on the next corner. They make contact again.
He spun.
Goes around. Jim
and the other one spun as well.
For both of them.
They both get going again.
Stefan Overgaard is running out of fuel, so Jim A. Bolin will pass him for 7th place.
Oh, it's all worked out for Jim Bolin.
Jim Bolin called this race masterfully. Unbelievable. Jim Bolin was in 10th place last time by the line. He is going to take 7th place, 3 spots in 1 lap. Jim, unbelievable job. You really pulled the wool over a bunch of guys. In the meantime, looking back, Stefan is still slowing. Is Carl going to beat him? Nope, Carl's not nearly close enough. But Thomas Hallinan may have beat him. No, Thomas just missed him at the line.
And it looks like Juris Jelenko did actually squeak in front of Stefan Overgaard by about 0.02 of a second. Unfortunate for Stefan Overgaard to run out of fuel that right there.
And Carl, you ruined my prediction. All the way to the very end, he got 11th. I said top 10, and I was off by 1.
Well, they were battling very hard. That was an unbelievable finish, Joe. Jesper Pedersen has taken the win. Good on him. He's done a fantastic job. We saw that magnificent battle between Sergio and Wojciech. Unfortunately for Sergio, he slithered and slid around the last corner in the bus stop and then lost that 2nd position, or lost the chance to try and fight for the 2nd position, and it has to be satisfied with 3rd.
Yeah, 3rd is nothing to scoff at, but you know, I think what we saw is that once again, cool heads prevails, even down into the final corners, as I see Jesper Pedersen sitting on the outside of Puhan. I'm not sure if he's going to be trying to do some donuts here. But some other cars are pulling up to him. In fact, that's all the AAA cars, it looks like. So I think, yeah, we're seeing some donuts from some of the AAA guys doing some celebration for a nice win for their team. Congratulations to them. Kevin, would you like to take us down through the top 10 of the finishing order?
Well, absolutely. Jesper Peterson drove masterfully and took home the win with a 5.49 second lead over Wojciech Swiderowicz. Excuse me once again. In our final podium spot was Sergio Mora. In fourth place was Konrad Hutton. In fifth place, Simone Rossini. Sixth was Gary Yanis. Seventh was Jim Bolland. Eighth, Euros Jalenko. Ninth, Stefan Overgaard. And 10th was Thomas Hallinan in that final 10 spot.
Well, guys, I have to say that I wouldn't mind being a Jay Yanis or a Euros Jalenko right now. We hardly ever mention these guys, certainly in the last 10 laps or so. But there you have Jay Yanis in 6th place and Euros Jalenko, whom I don't even know, in 8th place. Great race from these guys.
Well, I see that we're showing Euros in 8th and Stefan in 9th. However,
That's right.
Jesper Pedersen is currently waiting in the wings, and since he was our winner, why don't we drag him in here and see if he has a few words. Jesper, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Jesper, congratulations. That was a well-fought win. You won it by a fair margin, about 7 seconds. At what point did you think that you had this thing wrapped up?
Yeah, it was pretty late in the race actually. The first two stint was pretty dramatic, and after the first pit stop, I got a little bit. Yeah, my pit stop was slow, so I had to catch up to the front guys, and luckily I managed to do that. So, and then we were in a pack of 4, and then me and Joa Freitas we broke away and took a pit stop, and then he unfortunately crashed, and then yeah, I had a small gap to the 2 other guys, and then I started pushing really hard, and yeah, then I thought if I'm not going to make any mistakes, I hopefully gonna win this.
We saw that you were talking with Yao and coordinating pit stop stuff. Did you guys hope to try and work together until the end and then kind of sort it out in the final laps?
Yeah, I actually thought that we're gonna make it to the end together, and that's also why I started to organize things so we could work and probably extend the gap to the 2 guys behind. And yeah, unfortunately he crashed, but yeah, that's racing.
Very much so. Also, we know that you are a part of the AAA Academy. This is probably a very happy day for you guys. I see you're all lined up outside of Puhan there. Would you like to thank any sponsors?
Yeah, of course, I'm a part of AAA Academy. I'm an instructor, so if any guys want to join us, please feel free to do so. And yeah, I want to thank the AAA Academy guys for putting up sessions and having a good fun. And then I would like to thank you, my sponsors, GT Omega, AC Equipment, and yeah, Kimura Wool Fencing. And yeah, thanks guys for broadcasting the race.
No problem. You gave us quite a race to follow. And thanks for talking to us.
No problem.
All right. Well, we've got a few other guys waiting in the wings before we close up. I see one of our top 10 finishers, Stefan Overgaard, is sitting there. So let's bring Stefan in here. Stefan, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you.
Stefan, a top 10 is nothing to sneeze at, especially with how stacked this field was. Were you surprised at your results, or did you expect to be able to finish this high?
It was about where I had expected. I'd hoped for a top 5, but I don't. Yeah, my driving just didn't work out very well today, and almost made up for it with pit strategy, but then underfueled it at the last end.
Yeah, we saw that you were having a few battles. In fact, there were a lot of draft battles going on throughout the race. Did you want to try and stay out of those, or did you kind of let them? Were you eager to fight with people? Was your strategy to stay clean and out of trouble, or just get into it?
I was trying to stay out of trouble. I had much of the race I was driving together with Simon Palmer, and he didn't seem to want to do anything drastic either. So we just drove along nicely there. Later on, I got into a group with Carl Williams and Thomas Holland, and so those two were fighting a bit more for the position.
All right. Well, before we let you go, do you have any sponsors that you want to thank or shout outs you want to make?
Nah, just to my team, Asbury Motorsports.
All right. Well, thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you next weekend for CESCS.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Well, Richard, Ayrton, Kevin, this was an exciting one, that's for sure. Kevin, do you have any thoughts?
Well, we got to see a lot of great battles up and down the field throughout, and that was one of the most entertaining last laps I've ever seen, with passes and wrecks and cars running out of the fuel, and I'm glad that I got to watch this one.
Me too. Richard, what are your thoughts?
Well, guys, in the beginning I had all these technical problems which kind of hindered me from being involved fully in the broadcast. We apologize for that. But other than that, what a fantastic race. I must thank Konrad Hutton for organizing this race. It was just what we expected from a lot of top drivers. It said the Super Showdown, and it certainly turned out to be that, Joe.
Very much so. It lived up to his name. Ayrton, do you have any quick thoughts for us?
Yeah, I thought it was a very entertaining race. It's a shame that I couldn't enter it, since I qualified about 18th, and I think I could have had some fun in the race and represent GSRC, but it was still fun to come into the booth and chat with you guys, watch the race. It was definitely an exciting one and had a lot of competitive drivers, and I congratulate Jesper for his win.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you guys for tuning in today. We've got to close up here. We also want to thank Konrad Hutton, the organizer of the MX-5 Super Showdown. You've put on a great show for us. We also want to thank the makers of all the various software and hardware we use to stream, iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, AverMedia, and Audio Technica. Of course, thanks to our team here at Global Sim Racing Channel. If you'd like to find out more, check out www.globalsimracingchannel.com, where we also have archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter as @GSR Channel, and Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing Channel. Well, we will be back next week on Saturday. We're going to be joining the Blondies MX-5 World Tour at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at 6:15 GMT, 2:15 Eastern. We're also going to be broadcasting the CESCS race, which will take place at Mid-Ohio. That will be a little bit later that day. We hope you'll join us next Saturday. In the meantime, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.